I went to 8,000 views on my video from a couple of days ago about being a solo woman on a luxury cruise, and the Australians and other white people on the ship not expecting to see me. Ah, shit just got real, y'all. Excuse my French, but it did. I feel like we need to have a sit down and let me reintroduce myself or introduce myself to some of you guys who have just subscribed to my channel. Thank you. I'm just kind of in a bit of shock, if you will, for a channel of my size. I've never, ever received that many views. And my mentor, Glow, has talked about how this is exactly what happens. You get I don't even know if viral is the appropriate word for this, but I mean, my normal views would be about 50 views. So I'm going to call it virality. And virality is specific to my channel. You call it what you want. But for me, this is a pretty viral video. And this is not at all really what my channel is about. It's not about race. And so it's so ironic that that is the video that, would blow up because really my channel is the Runaway Reset, and it's about my journey healing from burnout, the way that I use travel as a form of healing, as a form of transportation. Yes, it is transportation, but how it's transformative. It's about being unafraid to start over again. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I've been vlogging my 100-day journey to turning 50 years old at the end of this month. Excuse me. It's about finally loving myself enough to prioritize me. And in doing that, causes me to be a more generous individual all around. It's strengthened my marriage. It's helped relationships because I take care of me first. And so it's really just about the freedom to start over and to run away, to get back to who you are. Not at all really about race and being a Black woman. I gotta come inside. It's a little humid and hot out there, so forgive me. So yeah, it's not, my focus, I don't think, has been on race. And so your comments and things have been quite interesting. And I feel like, I've struck a nerve, and not necessarily in a bad way, but it's a topic that we sometimes talk about. I feel like I don't, always talk about. Sometimes I do. But it's it's clearly got traction and people are commenting, and the comments have been, they range. They're all over the place. Like, I received one comment that said, well, if you don't like it, bring your husband. And that was made by what appeared to be a Black man. I don't know. I'm just looking at the profile picture. That was his comment. Like, this happens to Black people all the time. And basically, like, the way you can avoid it if you don't like it, don't take it personally, and, take your husband. Don't think the comment was intended to be malicious or like trolling or anything like that. Not at all is how I received it, but taking my husband on a solo trip defeats the purpose of being a solo trip. And that just isn't an option for me. And honestly, let me set the record straight. There were a couple of occasions that, I was asked, I would say 3 for sure, if I was a part of the crew. So not a whole lot. And it was when I initially, like the first couple of, like the first sea day or whatever, and they had been on for 3 weeks already. And Cape Town was a big stop where another segment of the world cruise began. And so there were, new guests getting on, all of that. Now, also fact, there are probably, I would say, about 10% people of color passengers on this ship. I mean, maybe more, but what I've seen, there aren't a lot of us, okay? So I think it was, it's just ignorance. It's, some people have said, well, I call it being nosy. And then some of you have said, hey sis, it's not your responsibility to educate them and do whatever. And I agree as well as I disagree. Both things can be true. I feel like I am in an environment I don't feel out of place. I don't feel lonely. I feel like I'm finding my way in this journey. I feel that like the last 3 years have been me trying to figure it out. And that's what this channel is all about. It's about not having the answers, but still moving through uncomfortable moments. It's about being okay with figuring it out, surrendering control. And so this is new. Yes, I'm on a ship with people and we're out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. We're 7 days at sea before we reach the next port. And it has been beautiful. It has really, it's not what I expected. This was the piece of the trip when I initially booked that gave me the most anxiety, because I was like, 7 days, what am I going to do? And and again, it never crossed my mind that what I was doing in terms of going on this solo adventure and being a woman, a married woman of color, that the color part really never just entered the equation. Brandy, why not? Because it didn't. I know that I live in a racist country. I know that the world is racist, but that has never stopped me from doing anything. And it just really never entered my mind that what entered my mind, honestly, is, damn, I'm probably going to be the youngest person on this ship, because none of my peers have 33 days and let's say more than 33 days, because 33 days is the actual sailing. And for something like this, you're adding time before you embark on the ship. If you're smart, you're not trying to fly in and get on the ship all in the same day. And then this likewise. So none of my friends have that kind of time. We aren't retired. We're working. So that's what entered my mind, is like, what's the entertainment going to be like? I'm about to be around a bunch of mature adults. These were the thoughts in my mind, not, man, I'm going to be considered part of the crew or asked that. And I wasn't offended, but more or less like, oh, okay. Because it never entered my mind that it was the length of time and my age. And one of the guys at guest services said, it's because you look so young, and so you're young, and the crew is young. So I was just like, wow. But man, you guys have been chiming in and I appreciate it. I was also asked, why didn't I book a solo trip that catered to Black solo women? And my response to that was that I didn't want to. This was about the itinerary for me. And it was about the itinerary and the timing. Also, I don't want to do things with just Black women. I don't live in a world with just Black women. I feel like that's very limiting. And that goes against, my beliefs. That is core to the Runaway Reset, is the permission, the ability. Like, I have allowed myself to be limited by other people's beliefs, by my own beliefs. And that is what I want to leave behind in the first half of my life. I don't want to take that with me into my 50th year and forward. I want to shed some of those limiting beliefs and things because I am more. I can do anything through God who strengthens me. So it wasn't, if that's what I wanted, then that's what I would have chosen. But that I don't want to just, travel like that. I don't want to limit myself in any capacity. I want to, travel is so transformative. It is a teacher. It is eye-opening. So that's where I'm at. Overall, I've really not encountered anyone that was rude or, disrespectful. I don't feel lonely. I am surprised at how fast these 7 days at sea are going. Today is day 6. And I've done something different each day. And I don't have a plan. I just go with the flow, and I'm okay with that. I am just really sharing my experiences as they come. And I'm fortunate and blessed to be able to. I thank you for your engagement and your views, watching my content. It's really, I'm just figuring out my life. Was tired of working in a corporate setting where I felt like I didn't have a seat at the table. I felt overlooked. The straw that broke the camel's back that all really propelled me quitting was a vice president. I was on a call and I had been working to try to execute a multi-year renewal agreement with an information security provider. I was in information security vendor management, and we had been working on it since Q2 of that year, and it was December. And it was like all hands on deck because it was about to be the holiday season, and the contract was up also 12/31 of that year. So it was like everybody was, trying to get in. It was just a big ass pissing contest. And I remember speaking up on the call and saying that we had the information that the vendor wanted to, or that we wanted from the vendor, that we had it in our possession, but it just was not in the format that we wanted. And could we just accept that in an effort to push the needle, and move it forward? And the vice president on the call for that area, it was business continuity and disaster recovery. The vice president said no. So, all right, cool. I just shut up, babe. All right. Then I got, I am on teams that said, do not ever contradict me again, or something like that. Now, I had never had any interaction with this individual. This was my first time being on a call with him. Older white guy who had been with the company for a couple of decades. And I was like, wait a minute. I think my head spun around and I clapped back. I was, excuse me, I don't know who you like. And I said, but do not ever talk to me like that again. And because of my role, IT vendors, they'll take you out, you go golfing, you do things. And I'm always, primarily, I'm not going to use all-encompassing words, 90% of the time, the only woman of color, okay? IT is male-dominated as it is, but then you throw it, so only woman of color. So I've had the opportunity to golf with the CIO. And that's not how he was leading the organization and his team. And so I reached out to him and shared the experience because, dude, I'm just trying to push this needle along and you're going to come and try to intimidate me and send me this, and this is our first interaction. We don't know each other. Like, who are you? So it was that incident that I was like, I'm so over this. I'm tired. And then I was looking for other opportunities within the organization. And I felt like I was dealing with dumbass recruiters who, and okay, dumbass is, that's harsh and that's not me. So I take that back. Inexperienced is the more appropriate word. Inexperienced that are just, they're just put in these roles, but yet they're the gatekeepers of you moving on in the company. And it was very, very frustrating. And I felt like I was becoming more and more stressed by feeling trapped. Like I couldn't get out of this role that it's not even bringing me passion. It's just bringing me a paycheck. I want fulfillment. And so after talking to my husband, I made the decision to resign. And I didn't have another corporate job lined up to replace it. I was working my current job at the hospital as PRN, as needed. And so I just said, well, I'll try to pick up more hours at the hospital. And so I left without having another job. And I thought that I would just take a couple of months off and I would be okay. I would begin looking for a new job and voila, it would, I would be blessed with it. That didn't happen. And I felt like I was, my mental health was suffering because I would be applying, and the job market, the level of professionalism, all of that it was shifting. I was getting ghosted by employers and I was like, wait a minute, this is new. This who? And for a second, I was taking it personally. I thought that it was only happening to me. Like, you don't show up for an interview. You don't thank me after the interview or tell me, cat, dog, we went with somebody else. You're not doing that. Like, what in the world? So that was very hard to wrap my mind around. And I knew, I was like, well, and I was so fixated on earning that I was in debt because I made a lot of money and I also spent a lot of money. And so I just was in a very unhappy time in my life and felt like I needed a break. But then 6 months after quitting, I didn't feel any different. When I turned in my resignation, I immediately felt a weight lifted. But I expected to feel different when after being gone for a few months. And I didn't. I, felt the same and realized, okay, I'm just burnt out of life. I'm tired. And throughout this process, I've still rushed it. It wasn't until probably late last year that I finally started to just surrender. And even recently, it's been an ongoing process of trying to move out of the uncomfortable moments and trying to become unstuck. You'll hear me talk about being comfortable in our ruts and just setting up a pretty, a comfortable, cozy area. And that's where we stay. Sometimes we allow ourselves to stay there because we've gotten comfortable and we are afraid to move forward and we don't know how to manage this uncomfortable moment. And so, my channel is all about just moving and being okay with not being okay, because sometimes that is what it is, giving yourself that permission. And so, this is what it's about. Today is day 84 of my 100-day journey to 50. And so you guys, we are like right at the end, and it has been a wonderful journey. It's been filled with highs and lows. It's been a lot of learning, a lot of transformation, a lot of retraining myself and breaking old habits and trying to adopt new habits. Um, and I feel like a lot of you have said, sis, just enjoy your trip. Do you, it's not your responsibility to educate the ignorant and da 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 da. And like I said, I agree and I disagree because I feel like what I am doing right now is big. And maybe there are other people that are doing it. I don't know. I don't have a frame of reference, but I feel called to encourage, empower, to educate when I can. Now, I'm also learning balance and I'm learning how to set boundaries, you know? And so if I feel like it, I feel like it. If I want to engage, I want to engage. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I want to be here in my cabin. That's the beauty of solo travel, is that you do what you want to do when you want to do it. It's all up to you. And I love it. But I also, don't want to close myself off to experiences because they don't look like what I envisioned. I talk about that as well. So often we might pray for something, but because it shows up in a different manner, then we almost miss the blessing. And so it's slowing down and learning how to be still and patience. Oh my gosh, I am the least patient person. I want things yesterday. And so this journey, this 3 years since I quit my job, has been slow and very incremental and at times very discouraging because I didn't feel like I was making any progress, and I am very results oriented. And so I've had to, learn patience and surrender and, um, to continue to show up every day when I don't see the results, even when I'm tired and, just want to go curl up and cry. I share those days with you too. It's rather foggy outside. It's very humid and steamy. Oh, and it's begun raining. Okay. So look at that. It's just white out. That's the bridge over there. That's where they do all of the central commands for the ship. Whew. Yeah, it is. It's like the tropics. So guess I will be in here today, which is great. I had dinner last night with some of these solo women, and it was a nice experience. I didn't feel like I was a zoo animal or anything like that. And then this morning, I had breakfast with another solo traveler who I've met over the last couple of days. I saw her, and I asked if she minded if I joined her, and I sat down, and her name is Carol. And when I sat down, she was like, "Brandy Carol, that is such a lovely name. I could never forget it." And we had the most pleasant conversation. And she gave me an idea for my business that I had not really considered. And so that's what this channel is all about, is being open to those experiences and not limiting myself. Because I mean, look, I don't know that I may have gotten that from somewhere else, or maybe I would have, I don't know, but it's being open to the differences and the similarities, all of it. Um, and I do believe in the power of change. I do believe that people have the ability to change. I believe that, God can work miracles. And I don't think things are going to happen overnight. I'm learning patience. But I think the more that we can step outside of our comfort zones, the more that we can see humanity and see other people, the more that it's going to make us better. And that things are not going to always stay the same. And they may, because there's the rich, there's the poor. But I think that we can begin to really kind of lessen the disparity, hopefully. Now, am I going to make that my sole mission? No. I'm here as a business venture as well as a birthday celebration. Okay, so I'm doing both things. This trip is serving that purpose. And so if I can educate as well as empower and inspire, then hey, it was a good day. So on that note, I'm going to let you guys go, and I'm going to talk to you tomorrow. And I thank you for watching. Have a great day.